Podcast.
Thank you for tuning in to the Intentional Disc Golfer Podcast. We're excited to have you join us on our disc golf journey. This podcast explores the physical, mental, and technical aspects of disc golf performance. We will also be discussing tools and techniques to improve your disc golf game as we work on improving ours. Now, here are your hosts, Brandon and Jenny Saprinsky.
All right, we are back, and thanks for listening to the Intentional Disc Golfer Podcast. I am one of your intentional disc golfers. My name is Brandon, and
My name is Jenny.
Your other intentional disc golfer. And if you love us, enjoy listening to us, you can like, subscribe, follow us, tell all of your friends. We are available on all major podcasting platforms, including social media. We have a Twitter handle now. It is at the IDG Podcast. That is our Twitter handle, the IDG Podcast. And on Facebook and Instagram at Saprinsky Disc Golf. That is CZUPRYNSKI Disc Golf. Please give us a like and a follow. Also, we can do live events. So if you'd like us to appear at your tournament, play some songs, interview some of the participants, maybe the tournament director, and find out what they've been doing, or book yourself as a guest, or interview, or even sponsor the program, you can get a hold of us at theintentionaldiscgolfer@gmail.com. That is theintentionaldiscgolfer@gmail.com.
And I think we're getting to the point where we have a lot of listeners that would like to share their disc golf journey and their disc golf story. So reach out to us and we can get you on here so you can share your story.
Yeah, you don't have to be anything special. Just have something to share. So
you can be special.
You can be special
if you want.
Yeah, if you want to be special. Hey, being a part of this podcast is pretty special.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Good reminder.
Good reminder. All right. So, Jenny, what are we in store for this episode?
Well, we have been busy. We've been living the disc golf life, living the parenting life, and living the getting back to school life over the past few months. And at our tournaments, we've had a lot of people asking us about all the changes we've been making, all the things we've been working on, because it's starting to really show in our games. So that's what we're going to focus on today in this episode.
That sounds great. All right. So we will be talking about that. This is kind of a reflection episode, looking at some of the things that have been working for us and the changes that we've been making to lower our scores and even have a few podium finishes as far as I'm concerned. So anyway, please listen to a word from a few of our sponsors, and we'll be right back.
Hi, this is Jenny from the Intentional Disc Golfer. Want to improve your putting game? Well, so do I. Target Putt is the best way to help you get better at putting. This simple little tool increases your awareness of location, your distance, and your aiming. It's a highly visible target that allows you to focus better, aim more precisely, and dial in your distance. For less than the price of one disc, you'll have a durable target that you can use wherever you practice. It's really easy to use. Clip it on, step back, and start making better putts. Unclip it, clip it to your bag or cart for future use wherever you go. We all know that you drive for show, but you putt for dough. Have better rounds, better scores, putt with confidence, and finally fix the putting part of your game. Try Target Putt. Make every putt count. Available at golfsidesports.myshopify.com.
BC Construction Services is dedicated to growing the sport of disc golf. From sponsoring tournaments and events to volunteering with the Paul Macbeth Foundation. When you hire BC Construction Services for your project, you are supporting growing the sport that we love. Get a free quote now by contacting them at bcconstructionnw.com. bcconstructionnw.com or at 360-271-3441. That is 271-3441. Serving the greater Kitsap and eastern Jefferson County area.
What's good? Eric Oakley here, and you are listening to the Intentional Disc Golfer podcast.
And we are back. Now, before we kick this off, we're going to turn this over to Jenny here. If you would like to come see us, be a part of what we're doing, or even just chat up, follow us on PDGA Live. Where are we going to be next, Jenny?
Next, well, we just finished up the Ironman Challenge presented by Emerald City Discs. That was an amazing tournament, 3 rounds, 1 day. I'm exhausted. I have muscles that hurt I didn't know I had. King of the Jungle is returning to Fairgrounds at Bremerton. We will be there September 23rd. And then shortly thereafter is the Evergreen Women's season finale, the Queen of the Jungle, presented by Moon Pebble Designs. And that is going to be a lot of fun. I'm so excited for that one. It's at Fairgrounds too. And then the Fall Fling presented by the West Sound Disc Golf Association on October 14th. And after that, we don't have any that we have committed to so far.
Yeah, after that, we typically take our off season a little bit and we do some training, some practicing, work on health stuff, and also securing ye old household here.
Well, and then the Women's Only Putting League on Facebook starts right about that time. And that is a private group that you can certainly look up. It is the Women Only Virtual Putting League, sponsored by Dying to Disc Golf. Check that out. It is a lot of fun.
All right. So getting into our topic, Jenny, you have been on a tear lately. So if you've been listening for a while, you've been one of our listeners for a while, and go back with us to maybe the first couple episodes, I remember we talked about that you were having a real rough time. You were finishing dead last in your division. You were having rounds that made you feel awful. I mean, at some point, I even remember having the conversation of trying to convince you not to quit.
It was after Ladies of the Lake last year, which was like June-ish of last year.
Things started to slide.
Things went down like a
water slide. Like
No, it was just, I would assume that a lot of our listeners would know that point where you're like, man, nothing's working. Like, why am I grip locking? Why am I this? Why am I that? And you start coming up with all these terms to kind of describe why you're doing so poorly.
So you feel like you have a pretty good handle on the game, and then it just all comes unwound at once.
Yeah, it's kind of like, who took my lucky rabbit's foot? What happened?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So, and then this year, you had a bit of a rough start. It wasn't the best start. You went back and forth a little bit, struggled with a few things. And I would say pretty much since middle of May, your second Women's Series event, you have just stepped it up and have gone on this tear of just not just winning, but dominating competition. We have people from multiple divisions, even men, coming up to you, asking you, what are you doing? What changes have you made? How are you doing this? I mean, we went out and practiced at Ladies of the Lake this year. That was kind of your big redemption event.
Man, that was so much fun.
That was awesome.
The practice round was fun too. I actually forgot about that until you mentioned it.
Yeah, the practice round was fun. And so now you're at the point where you're actually giving some of the men a run for their money. I
want to jump in on that. So I was the only woman at the Washington State finale for the NADGT at Steilacoom. And that was when it really hit me, because I was playing with 2 guys from MA3 and then Coach Green, who's also a disc golfer. He was on our card, and they were talking about how straight my shots are. And they're like, wow, I wish I could do that. And I've had that mindset for a while with other people of, wow, how do you do that? I wish I could do that. That's just amazing. And so that's when it really hit me that other people are noticing that I've made those changes.
That you've turned a corner.
Yeah.
Awesome. So walk our listeners here, I mean, it's hard for me to talk about it because I've been on a lot of the journey with you, caddying or otherwise. Walk our listeners through your journey. Like, what happened that made you flip the switch and start progressing so quickly?
Well, honestly, what it is I went through some pretty severe trauma about 7 or 8 years ago. And that propelled me to be very angry and very hard to deal with my emotions and my mindset. And so that has been something I have personally been recovering from for years, and slowly made my way back to doing the things I used to do. I've gotten back into being in the education field and gone back into management and slowly worked my way through some of those more stressful things to kind of build myself back up. And then going out on the course and being very angry and getting easily very frustrated with myself, taking the time to work on moving past that and having some grace for myself. That's actually been the biggest thing, more than anything I've done physically with changing my discs, changing my stance, changing any of that has been changing the mindset.
Okay.
Not what you were expecting.
No, it's a lot of not what I was expecting. So, so anyway, so can you fill in some of the gaps in that? I mean,
some of the other parts.
Well, no, I guess what I'm trying to ask is, how did being involved and getting involved with disc golf facilitate that healing process for you?
It's I want to do a full episode on this in the future. I have a lot of mostly women because I play mostly the women's events, and now that I'm doing events where there's not a lot of women showing up, I'm also hearing it from the men that disc golf saved my marriage. Disc golf saved me. Disc golf changed who I am, even to the point where we had a student that was in a pretty bad place, in a pretty rough spot, and to hear his guardian speak up in support of expanding the course by saying that he's seen how much just learning to play disc golf within the past 3 or 4 months has changed him, his mindset, his attitude toward things. And it's one of the guys I was talking with this on the third round at Ironman. We were talking about how much of it truly is mindset. And he was saying, I used to play team sports and I could blame my team. I can't blame my team when I disc golf. Like, it is such an independent sport, because I was talking about the fact that since I was the only female there, I was truly only playing against myself. And so my goal was to have a better score than I've ever had at that course. And I managed to do that for all 3 rounds.
I agree with that. I've played, team sports at very high levels. And when you have a team around you, you still have to be a strong individual player, the strongest that you can be, but you have a little bit of buffer for mistakes with your team, because your team will come and, help you and cover for you in some situations. And, there's a safety net there. With this, at least in a singles type format, there's not really a buffer zone or a safety net. You are responsible for everything that you do, and it can be very humbling and even humiliating, less embarrassing at some points.
Yeah, I can talk about the embarrassment. Some of those rounds, if you've ever been on a card with my husband, he's always joking around, and he doesn't ever stop talking, makes a lot of comments. And so it was truly some of those really difficult rounds when he wasn't encouraging me anymore or just didn't have anything to say. It was just the whole attitude of the card just kind of went down. Like, that's really harder than just dealing with it yourself. It's when the entire card is like, man, that sucks.
We talked about it a little bit in the Eric Oakley episode. And the third person she's talking about is me, the he. I'm the he.
Yes. Yes. My caddy extraordinaire.
My husband.
His rating went down for a few months as a caddy. I gotta say, like, your rating went way down.
My rating suffered.
Yeah, your caddy rating suffered.
Oh my gosh, was I not like on it with snacks and?
No, you stopped commenting. Like, this was probably way back at the beginning of your rating. It's all fallen off by now.
Okay, so we're on to new things.
I do want to say, you just mentioned the episode with Eric Oakley. And if you haven't listened to it as one of our followers, I strongly recommend that you listen to it, because that is what goes through my head every time I play, every time I go out there. And that's actually given me the strength and courage to also say, no, I'm not going to go out there, because I know I'm too upset. I'm too angry today. And if I go out there and throw, I'm going to be even angrier. Doesn't happen very often, on a rare occasion. But it's just knowing yourself, and I don't want to put that negative energy out there into my game anymore.
And I think that's very astute. I mean, I'm personally of a different persuasion, is that's when I need to go out and do something, either practice, play, do field work, because I feel like that experience forces me to get a handle on that type of stuff, because it's like, I'm disc golfing. Like, how can you be mad? But
I agree. However, I've been out there when you've been angry.
Well, I'll go ahead and tell myself.
Well, hold on. I've been out there when you've been angry, and I've been angry, and I can tell when I'm frustrated, and then going out there is fine, and then I can tell when it's just not going to happen that day. Like, don't even. If I throw a single disc, it's going to make me mad because I'm not in control of myself at that time. Like, there's different types of angry. It's more like introspective, like, I'd rather go hide under a rock type of angry.
Well, people handle things in different ways. And I think that's what we're talking about here is a little bit is the control aspect of it. And, for me, sports helps me refocus and get back in control. Especially disc golf, because it's such a mentally and emotionally heavy sport.
Mm-hmm.
So, no, I'll tell on myself a little bit. So in the Eric Oakley episode, I believe I had made mention of I was scorekeeping for several of the cards at the Cascade Challenge over here in Shelton, Washington, the Silver Series event. Got to meet a lot of pros, and every single one of those professional players were very nice, very gracious. I mean, treated everybody very well. But being behind the tee box and walking down the fairway with them, some of them had some pretty off rounds, at least the ones I was on, and were starting to get very frustrated and starting to do the negative self-talk. And it happens to the pros. But to be a third-party spectator in that situation and so close to it, where you are a part of that action and a part of that atmosphere, it really kind of opened my eyes to how much that kind of attitude and that kind of negativity brings down everybody else on your card. And I'm not saying that I'm exactly perfect at it at all times, but then again, I've been on some cards where we're the last place card, but everybody's having fun and having a great time and laughing their butts off. And, some of the funnest rounds I've ever played have been the worst rounds I've played. So,
well, and as somebody who's usually playing somewhere on the same field when you're having those fun rounds, it is incredibly distracting to everybody else. Like, your voice carries. Like, I can tell when you're on that I'm having a good time card. And I'm glad you're having a good time. However, you're a big distraction to me.
I have a loud, booming voice that carries. And having been married for, 8 years now?
I don't know.
Coming up on 8 years.
Depends on who you ask.
Depends who you ask. Little family conspiracy theory there. But you are attuned to my voice and can pick it out into a crowd anywhere. So I can understand that. But I remember this year. I'll go back all the way back to last year at SeaTac. I was having a terrible, terrible day, and I was actually playing with the husband of one of Jenny's friends, and it was like the first time I've ever played with him, and I was having a terrible day, and I was just putting on a show for everyone, not a positive one, and that was his first impression of me. Now luckily we're still pretty good friends to this day, and we joke around, and we've been able to mend that relationship, but his first impression of me was not good because I was having a horrible round. And then go on to this year at one of the North Bend tournaments, I hit every tree, every hole, bunker, out of bounds. It was just one of those days.
This is a former golf course.
Yes.
There are not a lot of trees. There are 2 rows of incredibly unnaturally straight trees.
Yeah.
And then there's some random trees. But it's an open golf course. So you saying you're hitting every tree, you have some talent there.
Yeah, we're not in. Yeah, she's right. Put this in perspective. We're not in the woods somewhere where there's a tree every 10 feet. We are on a fairly open former municipal golf course where there's a few obstacles, but mostly like out of bounds and bunkers and bushes and things of that nature. And somehow I managed to find myself in every single one of them. I shot a plus 25 on a course that I regularly are maybe be somewhere between plus 5 and plus 7.
I have no idea.
Yeah, like it was awful, and my attitude was horrible. And I have to commend you personally for that, because somehow you pulled through it and still maintained, even though I was being Mr. Meanie Head. But yeah, I don't know where I was going with that, but I'm telling on myself.
You're having a confessional.
A confessional.
Do I need to go grab the squirrel statue?
I know. My therapy session will be, But, so it's, I guess where I'm going with that is it's easier said than done. When you're up in it, it's sometimes really difficult to control that because it is an individual sport and it's very personal. And a lot of the sport has to do with decision making, and so it hits you not only in your scorecard, but it hits underneath the skin.
Well, and like, so you just brought up, I don't remember what made me think about this, but the way you play your game, the decision making. So like you have the fancy Bushnell rangefinder thingy-mabob that you got.
Oh, baby.
Right? So here's the difference in our game. So I'm watching you from afar. You go up to your disc, look at it, go back, get your rangefinder, go up there, measure it, decide what disc you're going to do. And there's a lot of like, I feel it's very ADHD decision making of all the shiny things, gather all the information into one box and then decide which shiny thing I'm going to go with. Versus that, so this weekend when you're like, do you want my rangefinder? I'm like, no, I'm going to throw this. And it just worked. I feel like that's a little difference between our game with our decision making too. It's like you need all the information possible. And I just need, well, it looks like it's about this far. That's about as far as that disc goes. Or I took out whatever I would have normally thrown because I'm trying to pare down my bag. And so I just throw the closest thing to it.
Well, and it's, we were talking about this a little bit on the ride home. The whole reason I wanted the rangefinder in to begin with was because I have my discs ranged in. I know which disc goes how far and how they all behave. Like she's saying, I'm very, to somebody it looks like somebody on the outside it might look like an ADHD attack.
You're very analytical, so you need all the data.
I'm extremely analytical when I'm up there. So yes, I'll go up there and look at my line. And where the rangefinder comes in is that there's not much difference visually between a 200-foot shot and a 180-foot shot. And so I ran into that situation this weekend a lot. It was somewhere between 180 and 200, and depending on the wind and everything, I knew that I could hit 200 with my putter. That would be pushing it, so I'd have to really rip it and put a lot of gusto on it to it being able to get it there, but I was going to lose accuracy. So that gave me the information I needed to say, hey, Brandon, why don't you disc up a bit and put a lot less power on it and gain more control. So the rangefinder actually helped me make those decisions. And it also helped you.
Well, if you
Yeah.
throttle back.
Yeah.
There's been like a couple shots where because of that, I learned I can throw my driver again and make that distance up, where if I wouldn't have, I would have had to do 2 shots. So it has helped a couple of times. Other than that, like one of the guys, I was at the drop zone and he was measuring it and he's like, that's 200. I'm like, so it solidified what I already knew by what I had been throwing.
The rangefinder has been a great tool. And speaking of that, I got that little toy because that was our deal. I got to brag a little bit.
You wanted a cart, however, your feet are too big.
I wanted a Zuka cart. Yeah, and I got big feet. So it's like, I know I can lengthen the thing out, but then it feels like I'm, dragging like a little red wagon behind me.
Oh, dude. I always feel like I have my little wagon.
Your little wagon. Well,
but I loved my wagon.
Well, you can do that.
I had the radio flyer,
you're
the
built
wooden
for
one.
it.
I loved it.
You're built more like normal human beings. I'm
built more like the little girl on the outside of the Morton salt packet.
Yeah. I'm a giant. I have very large features and I'm very good at taking up space, and I get in the way of myself and everybody else depending on anything.
That's why you were a goalie.
That's why I was a goaltender. That's right. Very good at taking up space.
Hi, this is Paul Wright with the Paul Macbeth Foundation. Support the Builders Club and support the Intentional Disc Golfer.
Anyway, no, the way the rangefinder thing came about, I get to brag a little bit. Jenny's putting me up to this. I actually got my first W. I ended up winning MA4 at the Rain Shadow Open this year.
Woohoo!
And which was bittersweet because I don't feel like I feel like I played well like my first 2 rounds. And then my third round, I feel like I just kind of limped it in and just kind of hung on by the skin of my teeth. So I'm happy that I won, but it didn't feel like a win.
Yeah, that's how I felt with the last 2 rounds this weekend.
Oh, at the thing.
North Bend.
It didn't feel like
Ironman.
it didn't feel like a win because you didn't play well or you weren't happy with the way that you played.
Yeah, it wasn't as clean as I would have liked it to have been. And, it's one of the things that I really appreciate is that I've been in this game long enough and been doing this long enough and focusing on it long enough that I can actually say that and truly understand what that means for me, that my game wasn't clean. Because, I remember when it would take me like 7 shots to make something I can do in 3 now.
Mm.
And so when I'm hitting 5s, it's like, that was not clean. However, I have to say that the baskets at North Bend hate me. I always collar or cage out. Like, it's just the North Bend baskets. I need to make them some drinks and take them cookies and some cupcakes the next time we're there.
That's right.
Yeah.
Leave some milk and cookies for the disc golf gods.
I'll make some special trail mix for the squirrels.
There you go.
And this is also like, I actually went OB into the garden. That was a first for me. Like, I didn't think that was even possible.
That gets better because I played on the card with after that round, I played on the card with the guy that you were playing with.
Yeah.
And he told me all about it. He's like, oh yeah, Jenny, she threw it up in the air and then the wind just took it and pushed it like 100 feet over right into the garden.
Yep.
And it was, and it's bad when the other people are telling you about it.
Oh, I was like, well, I always wanted to see the garden. Like, it was just sitting there right in the path. I got to go, like, it was all the way at the end of the garden.
Needed to get that out of the way.
I was like, well, I've always wanted a reason to go see it. And they're like, well, now you have.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, sure.
So, we kind of went on this tirade about a negative mindset and the negative self-feedback loops and how it's bad and it really brings down the card. What helped you turn the corner? Because I remember at Ladies of the Lake this year. Can I tell the story? Or you want to tell the story? Ladies of the Lake. I mean, it was really kind of like the World Series as far as you're concerned.
Yeah, you can tell it. What did we do? I need to look up what we did right before it, because that's where things kind of changed. So,
okay, gotcha. Well, while you're looking up that, I'm going to fill in. So, granted, all this is from our perspective, and I was caddying for Jenny at the Ladies of the Lake. She's moved up a division this year and is participating in the FA3 divisions.
Yep, Melissa and I decided. Well, Melissa decided to. So Melissa is my disc golf buddy. So is Hannah. Hannah moved up to the 40 division, and I'm not quite there yet. It won't even let me. I don't even have the option yet. You do. But Melissa's like, I'm going to move up to FA3 because, it's my second year doing all the tournaments. And so I want to leave that division for the true new people.
Trying to do the noble thing.
And then also playing up, you learn more, supposedly. So I went ahead and I'm like, well, after you made that speech, I can't let you go off without me. So I went up.
Yeah. So we're at Ladies of the Lake, which is kind of the mid-season women's series, one of the big events for the year, because there's a lot of people signing up, and it's at a great course in the middle of Lakewood. And it's 20 holes. Each round is 20 holes. And that's where things like really turned around for you, because...
So it was back in May when before the Silver Series, when I did that clinic with Ella and Holland.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you did a clinic with Ellen and Ella Hansen and Holland Hanley. Mm-hmm. And they gave you some pointers and stuff. What was the main thing that you took away from that you've changed in your game?
It's the thing that really hit me was the reach back, because that is the one thing that, because you big man, keep saying just pull through the chest, and here I'm sitting like there's too much chest to pull through. So how do I deal with that? And trying to to be honest, trying to Google large chested women and how to disc golf, like there's nothing out there. There's seriously nothing out there. No, I'm not going on a left turn. I'm talking seriously, because
I know you're talking
my
seriously.
body type, there's not a lot of options, because it's mostly like men.
Let's just say you tend to get in your own way.
Yes. So, but it's most of the YouTube help videos are men, and they're like, you reach back and pull through the chest, and it didn't work for me. So having them say like more like a 45-degree angle, because that gives you all this space to then turn and do the whip action. You make this pocket. That was the biggest thing for me. And that's what I keep trying to tell anyone that's asking me right now is like, what's the biggest thing? It's like reach back 45 degrees. I'm trying not to spill anything either while I'm doing this. Like 45 degrees, not straight back, because it's going to take less time for you to then bring the disc out than if you're reaching straight back.
Well, and on that, I've been doing the Power Disc Golf Academy from the Paulo Labari one. Yes, we paid for the subscription and all that stuff.
Berry.
Yeah, nicest guy. He was really nice to me. But he's saying the same thing, and the physics behind that is when you reach back 45 through your pullback, you're actually putting your disc down your line and rotating around your disc instead of your disc rotating around you. That's what rounding actually is your natural tendency to want your disc to clear your body. So what's happening is your body's actually moving into your power pocket, and then you got to bring your disc out and around your body to get it back online and release it in front of you.
And that's another thing you brought up, the rounding. Like, I have not been rounding as much as I had been before now that I do that. And there were a couple throws, like 3 rounds in one day, like in 80 plus degree weather that hasn't been that hot for a while. Like, that was hard. And so I did start like bending over and stuff. I'm like, no, I see him doing that. I can recognize it now, and I know how to fix it.
So you're saying that you have become more disciplined in fundamentals.
I have become more aware of myself, and I can understand things better.
Your body position and things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's a lot more self-awareness, and also being able to say, okay, this is what I need to change in myself, not, oh, I'm going to blame my disc. Like, that's a bad disc. I do blame my one disc that it was too, like, I used up all the magic.
Used up all that
I
one?
used up all the James Conrad magic. James, I still need you to sign my next 2 nomads so I can use them, like, one of these days.
Yep, James Conrad, if you're out there.
Yep, if you're out there.
Send us an email.
And I do try and do the James Conrad frolic step on the way to using the disc.
Well,
I try.
that's how you recharge it, is you have to frolic.
Yeah, but this one, it's got like my thumbprint. Like it wobbles.
Huh?
It's got my thumbprint
Those are
in
the
it.
best discs that have your
No.
thumbprint in them.
No, I did.
Yeah. Yeah, but the reach back is actually like a reach out instead of a reach back.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing I would attribute the changes to. Another thing is I've committed to the standstill, and that was in learning. I went back and forth between standstills and trying to do a walk up, and then trying to do a different walk up, and then so I committed to doing the standstills. And the other thing is, so I put my plant foot and I look to see where is it aiming, because it's more about where your foot's aiming than anything else. So I put my plant foot down, and then I look at my leg and see, okay, is that aiming where I want it to? And then I line up my other foot with the heel of my plant foot. I align my toe with my back foot to the heel to make that 45 degree-ish angle, to make that pocket so that when I reach back, I have like a 90 degree pocket that I can whip in.
And what I learned about that with the foot position too is that when you're right there, when you drive that knee down, and wherever that knee goes, that's the line that you're going to be on. So your back knee, when you drive that down to push off of your power leg, that wherever that knee is pointed is where your drive goes. So having that kind of in your, aiming with that back knee is a useful kind of hack to,
Well, and that's one of the things that, because since Brandon decided that he needed that additional help with the Disc Golf Academy, because you're starting to go through a little bit what I went through. Like, yours was a lot shorter than mine.
Well, let's address that real quick. Is that you always say that when you fall off and you're really struggling, you're on the brink of making a big breakthrough.
Yeah, and I think that's what most sports people say, is that because you have to go through that struggle, the productive struggle, in order to blossom into, hatching an egg or turning into a butterfly. Like, you got to do that stuff. There was a point that I really wanted to make.
You were going to make a point?
I don't remember.
Well, I think
I got distracted by the thought of butterflies. Oh, so Brandon and I made a deal when he started doing, he's like, oh, you got to this, you got to that. I'm like, no, I have a tournament coming up. You're not going to tell me anything. I don't want to know. I'm satisfied with how my game is right now. I'm not going to change anything. And that was before the Summertime Fling, which is the most recent women's series. We'll go back to Ladies at Lake in a second. But that's one of the biggest things is that there's a lot that I still need to change, but you're not allowed to tell me. So the other thing that I've started doing, and I will, the night before or a couple nights before, I will walk through when I'm going to bed. I will lay in bed and walk through the course in my head of what I'm going to throw, where about it's going to land, and what I'm going to do from there.
Is that why I had a black eye the other day?
To the point where if I'm laying on my left side, I wake myself up because I'm actually starting to throw. So I have to sleep on my right side, which is my throwing arm, so that I'm not disc golfing in my sleep.
You end up heaving yourself off the bed one night?
Okay. Yeah, so that's one of the other things that I've been doing that's made a huge
So you're talking about visualization.
Visualization, and then also going through, and one thing that I had a hard time with, so a lot of the women I would golf with had their husbands or partners or someone there telling them what disc to throw and how to throw it. Well, I kind of prided myself on not having my husband there and being able to pick my disc and decide what it's going to do. So that was a struggle for me, was knowing which disc to throw, to the point where I was tracking it at the beginning of this year on UDisc of what disc I threw, and then keeping notes in my phone so I could refer back to it and have that to look at. And now that I've really pared down my discs, it's pretty much...
You pretty much
I
throw
have
like
my
4 molds.
So I have my Roadrunner occasionally. I can finally throw the Diamond now. That's been a huge change for me because I've had those ever since I started playing in 2020. And I just now this year, I'm able to throw it. And then the Paradox, I went up to a heavier Paradox. I had to retire my Pearl. I have it for like a few shots, like
you started
Freddy's.
You started to roll that one over.
Yeah, I have it for a couple things, but that was my go-to disc. And then I just threw in your Proxy. And I have my Nomad, and then my Watt is my putter. And my Envy.
The Watt is so nice. Like, it has such a good feel to it. I haven't worn out my Envy yet, and I've put so much time into that Envy as a putting putter that I'm not going to give it up until it literally falls apart.
That's okay. Your Watt's in my bag.
Oh, you took my Watt?
Just kidding.
What? No, you're not. Whatever.
It's still on the windowsill.
Windowsill.
We have discs everywhere in our house. Oh, and another pride thing. This is so totally off topic. So at Chief Kitsap, Paul Macbeth Foundation put in the disc golf course. They've been donating discs. We've had a huge change this year with our staff and morale and stuff in the school. And I have to say, I'm very happy that some of the staff members have their Paul Macbeth discs hanging on the wall in their offices.
Oh.
And
your contribution to interior decorating.
The kids are playing every day, and it's great. Thank you so much to the Paul Macbeth Foundation and to Paul Wright for designing the course.
So, on that note, I remember we were on the way to Evergreen, and we were, riding in the van early, and
the disc golf van. Not as cool as the Mabbitt's disc golf van, but we'll get there someday.
Well, ours has most stickers.
Theirs has less windows.
You're right. But anyway, no, we were riding one day and down to the Evergreen Fling, and I asked you what your keys to the day were. What we were kind of having this discussion of what have you been doing? What have you found out? And you
maybe we should go back a little bit.
You listed off what? Go back to what?
Let's go back to Ladies of the Lake, and then I can talk about my game plan.
Oh, okay.
So it was that in May, and then I looked this up. We had Throw Pink, which
you took that one, didn't you? No,
I had a finish. I was on the podium.
You're finished, yeah.
And then it was the NADGT, which I won that one.
That's because there was no one else there, but you still
No,
did
I
well.
had to battle with Carrie.
Oh, you're talking about that one.
Yeah, the one at North Bend.
Oh, the one at North Bend, not the state finale.
No.
Okay.
And then it was Diskin in the Sun,
Yeah.
which I didn't win. I didn't place. I didn't podium on that one. But that was our 3 weeks in a row of going to North Bend.
That was a bear.
And then South Fork Open.
Oh my gosh, South Fork Open. Well, you won the South Fork Open, did you?
I don't remember. It was 3 weeks of North Bend in a row. Like
that was a grind. North Bend's
Yeah.
about an hour and a half away from us over mountains and everything else. It's like going to grandma's house.
And then you and James did the Trilogy Challenge.
Yeah.
And then it was Ladies of the Lake.
Hi there, this is Brandon from the Intentional Disc Golfer podcast, and I want to talk to you about Disc Raptor, the ultimate disc cleaning tool. I have one attached to my disc golf bag, and it keeps me playing my best on those wet and sloppy days. Then when I'm done, I can just flip it inside out, throw it in the wash, and it's that simple. Disc Raptor is made from tough materials for durability, but its microfiber and soft scrubbing insides are gentle on your discs. Disc Raptor is also a U.S.-owned and operated company. I've spoken to the owner, Colin, personally, and this is an entrepreneur that you can trust. Get yours today at discraptor.com. That's DISCRAPTOR.com. Disc Raptor is a proud sponsor of the Intentional Disc Golfer podcast. Now that we've ADHD'd our way back to Ladies of the Lake, it was on the side of a mountain and there were pygmies there. Just kidding. Paul Wright and the Pygmy People. Sounds like a band, doesn't it? Doesn't it sound like a band? All right, we're ADHDing. There you go. Paul Wright and the Pygmies. All right.
Focus.
I know. So, Ladies of the Lake, Jenny has given me the enormous privilege of being able to tell this story.
Ladies of the Lake is the one tournament. When I found out about tournaments in 2021, I was like, dude, I want to do that one, but it's so close and I'm not comfortable. Then I did it in 2022 and I was like, this is the one to do. I turned the sound off. Okay. Good Lord.
Yeah,
Cellular devices.
Nobody talks to you all day, and then when we try to sit down and podcast, your phone starts going on.
I know. We're the most popular people at the end of the day.
I know, right? So, anyway, Ladies of the Lake, from my perspective, because I'm just a spectator at this one, it's a women's only event, but this is kind of the mid-season big tournament that all the ladies try to get to. I remember you tried to get into it the one year, and it was full, and you couldn't get into it.
No, the first time it was too soon, and I didn't really feel confident in doing tournaments. That was the first year we did it. But the second year, so in last year, we committed to doing all the tournaments.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha. So Ladies of the Lake is kind of the big mid-season women's tournament for the Washington State Women's Series. It's the one that anybody who's anybody in women's disc golf around here goes to. You can miss a few here and there, but everybody goes to the Ladies of the Lake.
And it's the only one that's 3 rounds.
And it's the only tournament that's 3 rounds. I didn't know that.
Yep. That's
very cool.
The only one in the series that's 3.
It's a beautiful course. It has its own challenges. It's in a public park, and it's 20 holes, and they have their own layout for Ladies of the Lake.
I forgot it was 20
It's
holes.
20 holes, yeah.
Oh my God, I forgot about that.
So this was like Jenny's walk-off Grand Slam story, and maybe I'm exaggerating a little bit, but this is how I remember it in my mind. Is we played the practice round with a few friends,
Hannah and RJ.
the night before, and and Melissa and Phil were watching your scores or whatever on UDisc or something.
No.
Mm-mm. I thought they were.
No.
They found out about it somehow.
Hannah.
Oh, Hannah.
Hannah and RJ.
Oh, Hannah. Hannah and RJ told him. So, Jenny went out there and the night before we got to play with them and Jenny went out there and beat all 3 of us. And RJ and I are not bad disc golfers. And Jenny beat all 3 of us and shot like a +3 or something like that.
I beat you and RJ?
Yeah.
Oh.
You beat me and RJ.
I don't know.
So it's like, okay, well, whatever.
I want to say it was like a +9.
Maybe. I don't know. I think you beat us. I don't know.
I don't know.
Maybe
It felt like it.
RJ's gonna call me and be like, "Hey, what are you talking about?" But anyway, so we get into the tournament, and it's a stacked competition, and some people that we know that are perennial favorites to be able to take it and that are really good, and people that we have a lot of respect for because they are really good.
Yeah, I think there were 12 people in the division.
Yeah, it was a big division.
Yeah.
I mean, especially for a women's tournament.
Yeah, and a lot of the women that I competed with last year, that was their first tournament. So that's where I met Kayla. That's where I met Alicia. And congratulations on your wedding, Alicia.
Good job. Yeah, I just have to comment on Alicia. We had the opportunity to see her warm up, and she has improved so much.
Oh, yeah.
And her form is really come along, and she's throwing the heck out of those discs.
She's been throwing the heck out of those discs.
Well, yeah, her distance has increased significantly, and her accuracy. And so, like, I'm not gonna lie, we were standing on the tee pad when she was warming up, and I'm like, she's in your division, you have to go up against that.
I went up against her last year too.
Well, yeah,
and she won.
Well, yeah, she won. No, she won last year, and then this year, like, she came into the division, and she was like, well, you have to go up against that? Mm-hmm. Well, and it was kind of the same with Kendra, too. When Kendra came in and warmed up, and I'm like, oh, God, we're screwed.
And then, was it Mary? Is that
maybe
who the other one was? Yeah, I think it's Mary.
So, anyway, Jenny that weekend shot 3 personal bests in a row. She shot like a 2 over, and then she shot like the most birdies she's ever shot in her life.
I think it's 6 birdies.
6 birdies or something like that.
Dude, there were some like impossible birdies too. Like, oh my God.
Yeah, she was playing like she was possessed.
I was possessed.
But fast forward to that final day, Jenny's under par, and so we come into that final day. She's in 4th place, not even a podium finish. And you're what, 4 down, 5 down?
Well, and I was playing with Kendra and Leilani, which I've spent all weekend playing with.
Yeah.
So I played round 1 and round 2. Leilani, I know, happy that she's moved close by. And then Kendra, this is her first tournament. So I played with them both 1 and 2 and 3. Yeah.
Leilani's a heck of a good player.
Yeah.
When we played with her, she's going through some stuff and working some stuff out, like with her game. Mm-hmm. But when she gets that figured out, she's going to be real good. And
she's been real good.
She's been real good anyway.
Yeah, she's just going to get better.
She's going to go to the mood. So Leilani, keep working hard. We know, we think you listen to this. So,
yeah.
So Leilani, who we know when we played with a bunch, and then this other gal, I forget her name.
I think it was Mary.
Mary,
who I also met at.
We played with her last year. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So you're out of the podium by like 4 shots. And I'm like, okay, well, you might be able to make it back to 3rd. There's no way you're going to make it to the top.
Yeah, I was 4th.
You were 12 down from the leader? No.
I don't know.
8. I think it was like 8 down. You were 8 down.
I don't know.
It was a lot. It was a lot.
At one point, Leilani and I were tied for 3rd.
It was a lot.
I remember that.
Well, and then you started going on this tirade. I mean, you had a couple holes where you took like a double, but then you like really pulled it together and started shooting the round of your life. And, I'm watching the scores. You have no idea what's going on, but I'm getting all excited because, first you gain that 4 shots back and you move into the spot for 3rd place.
Going into round 2, Kendra was at +7, Marissa was at +8, I was at +12, and Leilani was at +13. So that was round 2 going into round 3. Okay,
so it's 4 shots is a lot to make up because they still got to play the game too. And if there's 5 shots, yeah. And if they're you still got to play the game too. I mean, so if they're shooting that good, they're going to continue to shoot, somewhere around there. At least theory would be. Mm-hmm. But then when you started to like birdie, I mean, you started off the round, 2 under, 3 under? It was weird.
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah.
I really don't know. Like, I didn't know until for sure it was after I finished.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you caught up to Marissa, and I'm like, okay, this is interesting. And then you kept playing really, really well. And I don't think you shot another bogey the whole rest of the round. But it
I
was
don't think I had a single bogey.
you had like a double starting off. Anyway, we got to
Oh yeah, I had
we
3.
got to hole 12 or something like that, which would have been like hole 17 for you guys with your 20 holes. So we got back to one of the holes. Jenny was able to make a few great shots, and some things ended up working out that Jenny was able to work her way back to -1 after being positive. And then coming into that last hole, that final hole, I think you were tied for first, or you were one down from first. And it was just like one of those magical things where you had, not only did you have to play well, but there had to been some things work out in your favor. And I think the magical part about it is that you played so well, and you could have went -1, but you sacrificed your -1 for an even round, your first ever even round.
That wasn't a ace run where you're
It was
not supposed
very
to get
difficult
even.
course. And the weird thing about it was when she finished, people on the other tee pads and that were finishing up and that we know started cheering and clapping for her.
Well, it was before that because we were over on, what is it, hole 7, what they made hole 7, the hole 6 or whatever. And that's when some of our friends from FA2 division were behind us, and they started cheering, and they were watching. And I guess a lot of people were watching.
It was
the
weird
FA3.
because people are watching you and following you on PDGA Live, and needless to say, it was an epic comeback. And Jenny had no idea what had happened until I told her, and she was walking off the hill with her disc, like tears running down her face. She couldn't flip and believe it. She had taken the whole thing. And then when we finally got back to the awards ceremony, there's the typical people that, win stuff all the time or are always in the running, and woohoo, but nobody expected Jenny to take this thing, and especially in the state of affairs that she was in. And she was the only one that like got a drum roll, and people were like standing and cheering for her because it was such an epic comeback. It was like hitting a walk-off grand slam. Like, it was amazing. And people were coming up to you ever since then. People have been coming up to you, what are you doing? Teach me. I want to learn from your game. What's going on? Even guys are like, what can you show me? And it's been just this really surreal experience. She's crying right now.
Thanks. I think the best part was that a lot of our friends were like, I feel like I just won.
Isn't that the best,
was the
though?
best.
The best part is when you can bring some people with you. Yeah. I mean, they're genuinely happy for you. So anyway, that's kind of a long introduction and story, but like, we're an hour into this already and we're just getting to the introduction. So what got you there? What was going through your head? Because there was a point during that final round where you started to fall apart, and I think you shot double on probably 3 holes. You shot 2 doubles in 3 holes. Yeah.
No, that was one of the
in
things
the middle of the round, you started to struggle a little bit.
Well, a couple things. So going back to just knowing yourself and knowing your game. Excuse me. I found that if my heart rate is at a certain point, like I have a hard time throwing, either if I'm too warm or if I'm getting tired or if I'm getting agitated. And I don't know what that actual heart rate is. It's just kind of a feeling thing. So I actually did, I don't remember where I learned it from, but they're like, probably one of those hippie things where they're like, oh, just go shake it off. And like, it actually changes your mindset because you're actually like physically shaking it off. So I did that. Like, you didn't see me. I went off to the side and I just actually kind of like shook it all off. And yeah, that's what I did.
You shook it. You shook it off.
I did.
All right.
That was part of it. And that's part of, having a couple bad holes. Okay. A lot of it happens with, if I notice I'm getting tired, I need to eat something. So it takes a little while for the fact that I just ate something. So it can be bad for like 2 or 3 holes when I first start eating or when I first eat something.
Okay. Yeah. Well, and that leads us up to what you said to me at Evergreen, or on the way to Evergreen, is I asked you what your strategy was for today because I wasn't going to, for that day. And I wasn't going to plan anything in your head.
Well, hold on. Let me go back to when I did Ladies of the Lake, because so the Evergreen series, there is a tracking sheet for the entire series and you can win at the very end. Like I won FA4 last year because I showed up to every event and I got first place because people know no one showed up in that division.
Well, there's some that you won, but it wasn't nearly as competitive as it has been this year.
Right. And that's, because I showed up to all the events, and so I not only did I win FA4, but I had the most points out of all divisions last year because I showed up to every event except for one. So this year I missed the opener. I got 3 points on the first one. I was bottom for the first one, the Honeybee Open. I didn't place for mine, Sirens of the Spring. So
and those were both before
right.
the Ella Hansen and Holland Hanley intervention.
So I had those couple points, and then Diskin in the Sun, I didn't place on the podium either. So I was just getting the 3 points for showing up. So when I won Ladies of the Lake, I also tied with Eva, who had been winning. So Eva and I were tied at that point after Ladies of the Lake to be in the lead for the FA3 division. And so that's when I was telling you, hey, I have to win this because then I have a chance to actually win the finale. And I think Kayla's also really close. Melissa was up in the lead too, and it's still really close that they can still take me if they get the 9 points at the end at the finale.
They can still get you?
Yeah.
So on a side note real quick, I just want to give a shout out to all the ladies out there. Ooh, no, I'm just kidding. A lot of you we have been out on the courses with, either practice rounds or tournament rounds, been on cards with. I've been following around because I've been Jenny's caddy. And a lot of you out there, we talk about Kayla, Melissa, keep growing and keep going. All of you have improved so much. Keep doing it because the competition is just getting better and better and better. And you guys are all driving each other. And it's been wonderful to see everybody develop and watch. And even in some of the men's divisions too, some of the people that I've known over the years, it's just gotten better and better and better. And we've been all driving each other. So that's been just a wonderful experience. But keep growing women's disc golf and keep pushing that competition because it's been really, really fun to watch our friends grow with us.
Well, and that's one of the things that, for me, it's kind of bittersweet that Hannah went up to the age-protected division because we don't get to play against each other very often. So.
Yeah. Yeah. And I like RJ, too. He's good peoples. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the 3 things that you said to me on the way to Evergreen, do you remember what they were?
I kept telling you I'm going to win it, and you wouldn't entertain that. That's all I remember.
Well, I was trying to get you to not be cocky and stay humble.
It wasn't cocky. It was cocky. I'm going to win this. It's kind of like
an of confidence.
It's like saying my password is I have passing grades. Yeah.
But one of them is that you were just going to play smart you were going to, 2, take care of yourself. And what was the third one? I think it was monitor your heart rate. Was it? I know those were the 2. Is that you were going to play smart and you were going to take care of yourself.
It may have been just play the game I'm going to play.
No, because you were like, I'm going to win this.
Well, yeah. Well, that's the game I was going to play.
That's right.
Because I like Evergreen. I'm comfortable with Evergreen. I'm familiar with Evergreen. And I went out and played it the week before in 100-degree weather so that when we played in 80 or 90-degree weather, it wasn't as bad.
Yeah. So when you say those things, when you say take care of yourself, what are you talking about? What are some things that you do out there in the course to take care of yourself? You started to get into it a little bit, but let's go further.
Drink water. Drink coffee.
That's profound.
Yeah. Water and coffee. Especially with the summer ones, making sure that you have the electrolytes and the cooling towel and the hat. And I didn't take the umbrella this year. I did last year when I did it with the kids. We all had umbrellas. I don't know. Most of it's just internal, like, watch what I'm saying in my head type of stuff. Like, honestly, at Ladies of the Lake, the song that got stuck in my head was Madonna's Vogue. And like,
are you kidding?
No, I've told you that before, but yeah, so it was Vogue. And that really helped me through the rounds. I know. Yeah. It's better than the Peyton Parrish.
I can't look.
I'll make a man out of you.
I can't even look at you the same, knowing that. Like,
I've told you that.
You listen to Madonna while you're disc golfing?
No, it popped into my head. I didn't even use my Bluetooth at all.
I can't, Jenny. Like,
strike a pose.
Yeah.
I don't know. Take care of myself on the course. Like, recognize when I was getting upset, and if I need to take a break, take a breath. It's something I'm really working on now, though, still, is like when it pops in my head of, oh, maybe I should step away, to actually do it and not just push through.
So actually putting some action behind your things that you're thinking.
Yeah, but the other thing is try not to think too much. Like, go with that first. If I think I'm going to throw this disc, stick with it. And go at that line. Don't look at this other weird line that's over here that you could possibly maybe, because you just got to go with the flow
just stay
instead
committed.
of, yeah. Because if I see a second line, I usually end up throwing in the middle, which is a tree.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because if there was a tree there to begin with, it wouldn't have been a line.
Yep.
Yep. Yep. Now Vogue. Ding, 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 ding. Okay, so taking care of yourself, making sure that you're drinking plenty of water, monitoring your blood sugar levels.
Well, because I've been fasting for longer, but I've been fasting and just working on nutrition and probiotics and all that jazz anyways, so that's been helpful, but it's not really anything I did specific for that day. It's mostly just trying to stay cool when it's really hot.
Yeah.
And dealing with your heart rate when it gets hot.
So the heart rate thing is a big thing for you.
Yeah, ever since I went through the trauma and ended up with the really bad anxiety, like the littlest things, I have to recognize that that's just a physical whatever. I'm not in any danger. I'm not having like an anxiety attack. It's just something else.
Has it gotten easier to deal with that over time?
Well,
I mean, in the disc golf perspective.
Yes and no.
Yeah.
That's why I say I know when there's days that I can't go play because I'm just too angry.
Now, what about playing smart? What does playing smart mean to you?
Boring golf is scoring golf.
Okay, what does that mean?
Well, a big change for me, too, has been that I don't have to use my counters that I made anymore because I can keep score of I'm hitting 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 or 7. But not as often as I used to. It's not every single one, so I don't have to use the bead counter anymore. So making those smart choices. And there's like certain phrases that I can't let get into my head. Like you used to always tell me to have like a nice, easy throw, like a calm, gentle, whatever. I can't think that. If I think that, like I have to step away, take a break, and I can't think that.
So you talking about stepping off your line, resetting.
Yeah.
All right. Any changes that you've made to your practice routine?
Stretching. That's been a big one.
Oh, so warm up.
Yeah, I've gotten older. Not quite in age protected division yet, but yeah, so stretching. I watched a YouTube video on like the stretches to do to warm up, because I think, wasn't that something Eric said too, was that
it's not healthy for you to get out of the car and start throwing.
Yeah. So he was talking about his stretching routine. So I started doing, I don't even know what to call it, like a half lunge and a twist and a half lunge and a twist. I saw it on YouTube. And so doing that for a little bit and then stretching my shoulders and my neck and my wrists.
It's been helpful. Been very helpful.
It's been very helpful for me.
Yeah.
That's made a big difference. Totally forgot I do it every time.
It's been so helpful for you that I've started doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, stretching's a good idea.
Yeah, so is throwing. I still don't like putting the day of the tournament. If I putt the day of the tournament, like to warm up, I'm screwed. I'm done.
That was another thing is being very confident in my putting. And to the point where I remember at Ladies of the Lake, I was nowhere near a basket when we were warming up for our first hole. So I was just putting, pretending there was a basket there, and I pretend I was throwing my disc. So just the visualization again. And what I do, if I do go out and putt, I go to the shortest distance possible until I make every single throw and just remember that routine of what I did and end on a positive note. So kind of like superficially inflating all of my disc golf to like raise it to that higher level. If you get what I'm saying?
No.
Like, oh, look, I just made all 3 baskets and I have my throw. It's set. I was like 10 feet away. But in reality, I was making 30-foot putts?
Oh, more than that.
Yeah.
You were going from circle 2.
Yeah.
Okay, so that helped?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, artificially kind of elevating my game.
So how do you weigh that between being overinflated and building yourself up to something that you're not capable of yet, and how do you find the balance between
well, it's
cockiness and confidence?
Have I shared that even with you until now?
What's that?
What I'm doing. Have I shared with you the way that I kind of artificially inflate stuff in my own head? Or is this the first time I'm really telling you?
Jenny, we know.
No, I'm serious.
I think this is the first time that you're actually talking about it, but
so then that's not cockiness.
I think that's a golf thing, because it's like, I think every golfer, disc golfer otherwise, or athlete envisions it in a certain way and plans it out in a certain way that is probably pretty unrealistic compared to what's gonna happen. At least I do.
Well, I don't.
Okay.
And that's just it.
Okay, so talk to us.
That's what I'm saying, is that cockiness would be me talking about the fact that, oh, I just made all these putts and blah, blah, blah. They were so great. Like, I'm totally pumped, blah, blah. I don't do any of that. Like, I do it for myself to end on a high note so that I'm carrying around that happy thought instead of, man, I just wasted all my good putts.
It's like Tinkerbell.
Yes. We'll go with Tinkerbell.
On the way, second start to the right.
No.
Learn to fly with happy thought.
You're kind of getting silly. A lot of it is the visualizing and the positive mindset. And I think I saw Kristen Tatar was talking about that if she thinks about her putts, she messes them up. But if she doesn't think about them, doesn't get in her head, they go in and they're better. And that's what it is trying to find that calm Zen space where you're, just kind of going through the motions and you're so practiced and you know what you're doing that it just kind of naturally happens. And it's when you think about it, at least for me, that's when I start making mistakes. And so I can't, if I spend too much time thinking about it, and that's the difference between what I notice with my game and your game, how you're gathering all this information and all of that. That would be way too much for me. And I wouldn't be able to do well if I was pulling all that information. I have to kind of do what Aaliyah would do, which is, that disc just felt right. Like I'm kind of somewhere between the hippie metaphysical and the data gathering analytical.
It made sense to me. So
yeah, I just did it. It just felt right. So somewhere in between the middle of those and just trying to stick with the happy throws. The
happy little throws.
Yes, the happy little
happy
throws.
little throws into the happy little trees.
Exactly.
Maybe we'll have a happy little accident with our squirrel friend.
That sounds wrong.
Sounds nuts. Oh, Bob.
At the rate you're going, we're not going to be able to use any of the end of this.
We'll be able to use some of it, maybe. I don't know. I'm just trying to put together like, what have you been doing differently? What's been working for you? What are the things that you've discovered that make it possible for you? I mean, you're playing so well and so pretty.
Well,
like watching you play is a thing of beauty, and the only thing that you're lacking is the big distance, and that's the only reason that you're not shooting under par on a consistent basis.
And my skirt game is not on point.
I
need to work on my skirt game.
Gotta have your skirt game.
Gotta work on that.
Yeah.
I've also noticed, so I saw that Toni Morgan, she went out and she bought a bunch of new clothes for disc golfing. And so going out and buying some nicer things, like that's kind of helped me too.
Kind of boost your self-esteem a bit.
Yeah, have that mindset.
Well, I know there's one thing that you do the night before the tournament.
My nails. I do my tournament nails, and I was super happy that the green I did for the summertime fling lasted long enough for the 360 Open. So very happy about that.
Did you win the 360 Open too?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Jesus.
That one was the even more battle, remember? Like Leilani and I were within like 3 points of each other going back and forth.
Really?
Yeah.
I was playing my own round.
Yeah.
Trying to...
Yeah. We battled.
You battled.
It was good. It was a good game. And it's funny now that I know Ava was like, I can't wait to lose to Jenny at the finale.
I know. I felt bad for her though when she said that, because she was like, she's just kind of speaking that in reality. If she's always already got that into her head.
She doesn't though. Like she was so kind that so I went over to Kennewick for work, and I met up with her and a couple other ladies that are in the pro division. And we all played, and it was a great game, and it was really nice. So for me, I'm not a sports person. So to get to the point where I can go out with strangers I don't know, that's huge.
Yeah.
To go to a course I don't know is huge. But to ask them, what the heck am I aiming at? Because I'm over here in the desert and there's these random trees I have to throw over them to a basket I don't see. And they're like, do this. And I know what they're saying. And then I actually did it. Like, I'm to the point where if I hit a tree and I was aiming for it, I am so excited that I hit that tree because I was actually aiming for that tree. Like, it's not just going off to whatever. And that's why I was really excited about going out OB into the garden. Because I haven't done that before.
You're aiming for the garden?
No, it's just really
Secretly
pretty.
in your head.
Yeah, so that's a lot of it is just understanding myself, understanding my game, and secretly also understanding my competition and their games. So
Talk more about that.
I don't know. You know, the other thing with that's really changed with disc golf is now that we're doing this podcast and coming out here and sharing our stories and even taking the chance to be vulnerable, not only be vulnerable, but to be able to talk about these other people and these things that we admire about them. I think that has really grown what I know about the game. Because at work, so I'm the pro at work. I know, right? Isn't that hilarious? I'm the pro and people are intimidated playing with me.
Halfway serious, but halfway not.
Like, I find it absolutely hilarious because I know what I've been through to get where I'm at. And so it's like, that's super sweet. And I'm sorry you feel that way. Like, even playing with some of the guys I played with yesterday, they're like, oh, I started in May. And then they're like, how do you get your throws so straight? Like, how do you do that? Oh my God, you're out driving so-and-so. And it's like, I have been working my butt off for 3 years to get here.
Well, it's like in the second episode, that quote from Michelangelo about the Sistine Chapel. He was like, if you knew what it took to become a master, you would think it was nothing special at all.
Yeah. Well, I think that's another thing too, is that you and I have both really committed to this, I'm going to say, stupid game that I tried to avoid for years.
And now it consumes our life.
It's a healthy obsession. And it's weird because it's an obsession that we both share and we can talk about it. And our kids talk about it too. And it's just changed. It has changed so much in me, and I think in our relationship and our family's relationship too, because we never used to go out. And now we don't mind going out for 3 hours and playing a round of disc golf. Like, true, our kids have gotten older, and our families are willing to help watch the kids so that we can go do these tournaments.
Yeah.
Maybe not for a full week at Nationals, so I'm not going this year. However,
it's on the to-do list.
Next year.
It's on the to-do. Texas, here we come. I love Texas.
Bernie, I'm hanging out with you.
Love Texas.
You're forewarned. So that's, it's been a lot of work, and I still have a ways to go. And a lot of that has to do with personal growth and sharing the gratitude of playing the sport and getting to play with other people and helping them grow and being able to, I've always wanted to be a teacher. I am a teacher. I'm not teaching math anymore. Now I'm teaching people how to play disc golf because I'm no longer in the classroom. Now I'm in admin. I'm on the dark side.
You're on the dark side.
I'm on the dark side. And then trying to come up with, I was telling, Sarah today or yesterday? Sarah and Brian.
Oh, yeah.
It was one of their first tournaments. And so Sarah, I was like, do you play? Because there were a lot of women there caddying.
Yeah.
And I even told my card, I was like, I could have caddied or I could have played. So I'm going to play. That's kind of what it boils down to. I caddied for you once this year. That was enough.
That's enough.
Your bag is so heavy. But I was like, you should come to one of the women's tournaments. Go to Ladies of the Lake. It's the one to go to. They're like a party. You go to the women's event. They're themed. They have, so the Ironman, the one that Brian put on for Emerald City Discs.
Yeah.
Probably would have had someone in an Iron Man t-shirt and there would have been action figures as the trophies. Iron Man and probably would have made fun of like, well, you weren't so good, so you got Superman and then you got Batman. Sorry. But something like that, like really making it into an event, something people are going to remember, and even making it fun for the caddies.
Well, I enjoy going to the women's events.
I know, that's the only reason you caddy.
Well, there's raffles and the party the raffle size is respectively small, and there's a lot of stuff, so you have a great chance of winning, and all of the raffle money goes to support a great cause, whatever charity or nonprofit they're donating to that tournament. It varies, but it would be having daughters, and it would be great, and a wife, of course, but it'd be great to see more women out there playing and getting involved in the sport of disc golf.
I want to see more families out there. And so that's my goal for next year or in the next coming years, is to figure out how to do, I want to do some family events. And I'm really thinking that this is like a 3-part carnival type of thing where you go through this challenge with your family of playing these 3 different events. Still not sure how it's going to work out. Not sure what it's going to look like, but this is one of those sports, kind of like how bowling was back in the 50s, 60s, 70s. Like everybody can play bowling. I remember my dad we would all go bowling. I loved bowling. I can't hold a bowling ball anymore, but I can throw a frisbee.
Yeah.
And even there were 2 older gentlemen walking their dogs on the course yesterday. And they came over to me and they're like, "What are you guys doing? Like, how do you do this? Are you launching a rocket from that thing? Why do you have such a big cart?" I'm like, "Well, honestly, I just like to carry a lot of stuff with me." And then trying to explain that each disc is like a different iron. And so they started to get a little interested, and then they're like, "Oh, no, I play real golf."
I play real golf.
I play real golf, but everyone can play. Like, there's kids out there. You can have cool discs. Like, you can paint them. You can get different colors.
Well, and you say, get more families involved. I'm a married man. I know.
What?
And
when did that happen?
8 years ago.
Oh,
depending who you
sure?
ask. It's like,
Let me check.
You can. The key to getting more families involved is to get the moms involved, because the moms are the leaders of the household. I'm not talking about gender roles or anything, but anybody knows that mom wears the pants in the family. And if you want to get the kids and the families and the husbands, and if you want to grow the sport, you have to get more women out there playing.
Well, and if you want to grow the sport, this is something that they did with Fairgrounds, and they did this with Shelton. They really took a look at their courses and said, "Can my beginners come out here and play?" And that's something that Paul did really well with Chief Kitsap, and being able to talk to tribal council, the decision makers, that we want to have a bigger course that's more challenging, that's not the beginner level. They really saw that. They really understood it. So I did not like Shelton. And I spoke to the Mason County Disc Golf, one of the leaders of it. And they were really trying to make it more woman-friendly or beginner-friendly. And so I really challenged myself by running my tournament there, because I didn't like that course. And they made it so user-friendly that I would love to go back.
Yeah. You mentioned Fairgrounds. And I think that's a great example.
Oh, yeah.
So Kitsap County Fairgrounds, one of our home courses, the first few times we went there, we used to dread playing that course. Even I did, because it was blue tees only. The holes were long. There's a fair amount of elevation change, very narrow fairways, and it's heavily wooded.
There's ravines and there's these ferns. Beautiful. They come up to like your hips, some of them.
Yeah.
And Kaylee, my daughter, would throw a disc. It would go 10 feet.
And disappear.
And it was abducted. we never got those back. Like they disappeared.
So it became one of these courses very quickly that we feared because it wasn't accessible. You couldn't take your kids out there. You didn't want to go there because you always had to send out spotters early. You always knew that you were going to expect to lose a disc or two. And it was, a really expensive course to play in a lot of respects. But then I can't remember what event it was for, but they came in and they added a bunch of red tee positions.
It was for Throw Pink.
It was for Throw Pink?
Last year. Okay. They added a bunch of red tee positions, and it changed the entire dynamic of the course. It was playable, it's accessible, and it really turned into one of our favorite courses to play. And we have no bones about taking the kids out there and playing with the kids. And it's even one that now the kids will say, let's go there.
Yeah, the kids will volunteer to go there, as where before we wouldn't touch it.
Yeah, and they have gotten better, too. They have a better understanding of their abilities, too. And so it's just amazing the way that doing that changes the course.
Yeah.
So whatever it takes to make it more accessible, like look at some of your courses that maybe aren't getting the number of stats that you'd like to see on UDisc and start seeing, well, what changes could I make? Because they even at Rain Shadow.
Well, talk to your local clubs.
Well, that's what I'm talking about. Is those people who are running it.
Yeah.
Like, look at your stats. Because I can see the Chief Kitsap stats. But even at Rain Shadow, there were a few that we played for the first one. Was it Rippin' in the Roadies?
Yeah.
I didn't think it was the women's event. One of them, maybe it was, they shortened a couple holes, which I didn't think they would do, but it made a difference in just those couple holes that are a lot longer or a lot more technical.
Even knocking 50 feet off of a hole makes a big difference.
Or even moving up the par. I mean, if you want to deal with people taking that long still, if you want to shorten it up so that people can not have those backups.
Oh, like a pace of play.
Yeah. So adding that Mando on 13 at North Bend.
Unnecessary.
Well, I understand why they did that, to make it more challenging so you're not just going around like I did. And it makes you have to think about it. And that's what, Paul was saying with our course at Chief Kitsap, how there's a couple where you could put in a Mando to make it more challenging and technical. But why? For now, because it's a beginner's course.
Yeah.
But that really lengthened the pace of play on that hole, which is normally long because it's a longer hole and it's a par 4.
Well, you start off with a brutal tunnel shot.
Well, but that's not what I'm even talking about.
Oh, okay.
I'm just saying that they threw in that Mando, which made the pace of play longer on that hole. And was it necessary? Maybe, maybe not. It was good to try it out. I would have maybe for the Ironman challenge removed it maybe on the last round.
Who
But
knows? I mean, I'm sure they had their reasons. I don't know.
they did it on the other one, the Laura Memorial one. Things to consider.
Things to consider. Lots of stuff. A reflection on a year in disc golf.
Yeah, so still have one more tournament to go in the women's series this year, and
I got a few more too.
Looking forward to the finale, which is so funny that King of the Jungle totally feel like it's geared towards men, but they have the women's division open. And who's playing? So I signed up for FA3, and now all my friends who are my competition, who are playing in the finale for the women's series at the same course for Queen of the Jungle, are all in the division. So it's going to be a blast.
Well, it's halfway because of you and halfway because of it's the finale.
I know, but it's going to be such a blast.
It's going to be a ton of fun.
I'm so excited.
Yeah. I'm excited about that.
Yeah, there's one lady I haven't played with who's in FA3. So I'm excited for that.
Anywho, well, that does it for the Intentional Disc Golfer podcast. This episode has been a year in review and improvements that we have made and things that we have learned. And hopefully our experiences are able to help you out and grow your game and grow the sport. So Anyway, here at the Intentional Disc Golfer, we do believe that disc golf changes lives for the better. So don't hesitate to go out there and grow the sport.